Shrine game saved for the few.
The game is yours to play now.
The light provides.
This is Eventide Radio.
Hello, and welcome back to Eventide Radio. This is a fan-made Destiny podcast where we have roundtable discussions about a variety of different topics concerning the popular video game franchise. At its core, this show is about having in-depth discussions about the game from a variety of different perspectives. I'm your host, Scotty, and with me are my co-hosts, Rob and Robbie, and today I'm thrilled to welcome Matt and Doc from the wonderful nonprofit organization Guardians Mental Health. Guardians Mental Health is a 501c3 nonprofit organization that is focused on promoting mental health awareness and meaningful resources throughout the gaming community. They provide first-step support with gathering resources, peer support, and where to find a mental health professional near you. Today, they're here to talk about the origins of their organization, who they are, what they offer, and why they do what they do. And also, at the very end, we'll play a little friendly game of Destiny trivia to close out the day.
Yeah, friendly.
Friendly.
We'll see how friendly it gets.
Yeah.
Before we dive into the story of Guardians Mental Health, let's meet the minds behind the program. Matt, thank you so much for being here. If you don't mind, let's kick it off with you. So tell us a little bit about yourself and your background in the mental health world, and as well as your connection with Destiny itself.
Sure. I am a licensed clinical social worker, LCSW for short. And I've been a mental health professional now for 7 years, question mark. And primarily I work as a therapist. More so recently, I'm a case manager. So the way that I describe that is I'm the middleman to help individuals get resources, set up appointments, and kind of just guide through certain logistics when it comes to funding and things like that. In regards to myself, I like long walks on the beach, I guess. Something. No. I'm just outside of the mental health world. I am just a normal guy, which is probably where Destiny comes in, because I've been playing it since D1. Wrath of the Machine is my favorite raid, and I'm
That's
upset
a
it's
good one.
probably. I know, but I'm upset it's probably not coming back. But no, really Destiny. I started playing Destiny 1, PS3, PS4 era, and switched over to PC, I want to say maybe a year and a half ago with Destiny. Well, 2 years actually, because I really got back into it when I joined Guardians Mental Health, because I gave it a rest for a while, just didn't have a core group of people that were playing it, so I kind of backed away.
Mhm.
But once I joined Guardians Mental Health, actually, I got back into it, because I think Doc messaged me. He's like, hey, do you play Destiny? I'm like, not in a really long time, but I'll download it because I want to. It was just one of those games I always went back to, because like I'll play the popular game for that month, and then I'll be like, kind of just want to shoot things. I want to shoot aliens.
For
you know?
sure.
I mean, I like the Fallen now, but back then I was like, I just want to shoot a few Fallen, and and then Mithrax came back, and I was like, oh no, I love the Fallen now, and I feel guilty doing strikes where I have to shoot them. No,
Vengeance.
but that's yeah. Until my boy Mithrax came in, I was like, oh, Kella Light,
Yeah.
I like you. All right, but that's
This
really
game-
my connection to the Destiny world.
For sure. This game has something about it that always just somehow finds a way to pull you back in. It seems like there's always something. You
There's
can
always
never
something.
take a break for too long, it feels like.
No. And funny enough, it was like, and I know this is like weird to say nowadays, but it was like Gambit that drew me back. I was like, I can play a somewhat PvP and PvE style, and I can do it solo?
Yeah.
Wait, that's great. Until Eyes of Tomorrow and Galahorn came into the play, and then it's game over now.
How naive we were at one point.
At one point, yes. But that's actually what kind of brought me back a little bit, because I think, too, as a solo player, Destiny was also great, because you could just kind of grind pinnacles out and still be on the same level as those who were maybe not in PvP, but at least in PvE, you can still be on the same level as other people. So that was another reason why I think I really fell into Destiny and loved it, and
Mm-hmm.
still do.
Mm-hmm. Doc, what about you? Share a
Well,
little.
hold on. I don't want to interrupt.
oh.
I'm sorry,
no.
Scotty.
Okay.
You
What'd I
didn't.
do?
You didn't answer a very important question. Are you Titan, Hunter, or Warlock main?
Oh, so I'm gonna get yelled at by
It's-
Doc, actually.
I am going to yell at you, Matt.
So for the longest time, I was Warlock.
Yay.
Which queen comes out, and I switch over to Hunter.
Okay.
One of
You
us.
bastard.
And then and Matt, if I may ask, and you can tell me to buzz off. So you said you're a
Yeah.
licensed clinical
Social worker.
social worker. Can I ask what your highest level of education is?
Sure. For me, as that I have right now, I'm a master's. So I have a
cool.
master's level of education. I would go back. Lord knows, I don't know if I could do school all over again.
No, I'm right there with you. Yep.
I could go for a doctorate and have a doctorate in social work. Just I'm kind of comfortable where I am.
Awesome.
But
Okay.
it's
I was
not-
just
Yeah,
cool.
absolutely.
Just curious. Thank you.
Of course, thank you.
I respect that. I couldn't get a master's either.
You say that, and then you'll finish, and then you'll be like, "Oh man, grad school's awesome," and then you'll find yourself 5 years down the road, and you're like, "What am I doing?"
I will say
Yes.
I loved grad school to the point where I have NYU tattooed on me. Believe
Oh,
it or
cool.
not, everybody thinks I'm nuts, but I had so much fun and learned a lot. Thankfully,
That's awesome.
Grad school can be fun in between the late night study sessions and multiple cups of coffee.
that's where my addiction of coffee started. But
Yeah,
that's a different
I
story.
Same here.
would second that or third that sentiment for sure.
An addiction born of necessity, it sounds like.
Yes.
Oh yes.
Doc, what about you? Share a little bit about your mental health background and your connection with Destiny.
Sure. So I am a licensed clinical psychologist in a small province in Atlantic Canada. So I'm way up north. With Destiny, I started all the way back in the pre-release alpha. So I was one of the
Wow.
lucky few to be eligible to get a alpha key. So as soon as that E3 keynote came out, and they had the website, if you sign up here, you can enter to possibly get an alpha, and I was one of the lucky ones to get one. So I've been playing since June 12th, 2014.
Wow.
You
D1
are
Alpha
like
vet.
a legendary vet. That's awesome.
That is super cool.
Yeah, so I essentially the alpha and was exactly the same thing as the beta. Again, it was just they were play testing things, and I played Titan and Titan on both of those. And as soon as the main game came out, I went with Warlock and haven't looked back since.
I
So
respect
I am a
it.
Warlock main.
Okay.
One of us.
I've
I feel like
been
there's
a
a lot of
Warlock main
warlocks these
since
days.
Destiny 1.
I'm not
and
changing anytime soon.
other than the floof, I love my Warlock.
The flu.
The Warlock
the
jump has
floof.
got me killed so many times. But
Wait,
you get
what's the
used to
floof?
it. Oh, the
You've never-
jumping.
Yeah, you've never played Warlock, Scotty, so you just have no idea.
I've played Warlock. I just don't
So-
level up my Warlock.
Hunter goes up, Titan goes forward, Warlock goes down.
But with
that-
class,
that's
with
awesome.
style, you glide stylishly down. Yeah.
if you ever try to do the ship jumping puzzle in King's Fall, you will know the pain that it is to play Warlock.
Bringing me back memories.
So if they bring King's Fall back, Scotty, you gotta try it on a Warlock, and then you'll know pain.
Oh boy.
Well, you got really good at like timing things.
Yes.
See, with a Hunter and a Titan, you can kind of just get away with it. But with the Warlock, you have to really know those timings.
Oh my goodness, it sounds horrible.
No, it's quite wonderful.
It's
It-
I can't jump with the Titan, for example. It's the complete opposite of everybody because I started playing Warlock exclusively, and then afterwards I made my second and third character and whatnot. But I can't figure out the Titan. It's a feeling of, you know what? It's not about the, I get the up, forward, and down, but it's about the stopping. Because if you jump off a cliff with a warlock, right, you can glide and fall. With the hunter also, you just jump before you hit the ground and you survive. But the Titan is like driving like an 18-wheeler on air brakes, and so you brake before, but you don't know. And most of the times I end up crashing anyway. And
And
it's
Titan's just crashing
it's
everything.
hard. Yeah, it's just
But
Joe, if
that's
you're
why they-
listening, you know it's right.
That's why they have extra padding, just because they run into a lot of things. A lot.
That's why they're so bulky. That's why their shoulder pads are so big.
Yeah.
They're just like, they're actually not hard. They're just like really squishy. So that
Yeah.
when they run into things, it's like a little cushion.
Exactly.
So something we like to do before we get into like the meat and potatoes of the whole conversation is we go around the table, hypothetical, metaphorical table, and check in and see what everyone's been up to this week in Destiny. So Rob, as usual, why don't you start us off? What you been doing this week?
So I gotta make a comment because I noticed in your notes you said order Rob, and I do notice that you
did.
usually call on me first a lot. Can I ask?
I always
why?
call on you first.
I know. I don't know why. It's always making me uncomfortable and anxious.
I'm just used to it.
At this point, I expect it, but then I'm like, maybe he's not going to do it this time. And I thought explicitly because you had the notes, I was like, he's not going to call me first this time. But you did anyway. So
You thought I was going to put the notes in there, and then I purposely put the order in so I could subvert your expectations and completely throw you off.
Like Ryan Johnson in Last Jedi. Like that's a level of subverted expectation I was hoping for. Okay, sorry. We're not going to talk about Star Wars today. I'm too grumpy of a mood. No. So for those that follow us on Twitch, all like 7 of you, thank you by the way. Twitch.tv/. No, I finally fixed it, Robbie. How dare you?
You're done prepping for Witch Queen? Okay.
Yeah, I'm done prepping for Witch Queen. I streamed some D1 this weekend, which was kind of awesome because I felt like it.
How was it going back to D1?
You know, it's rough for the first like 15 minutes. So I play on PS5. I played on PC at one point, and then when Beyond Light came out, my computer just couldn't support D2 anymore because of like the graphical issues. Anyway, so I bought a PS5. So going from strictly like 60 FPS back to 30 is jarring for about 15 minutes, and then you kind of get used to the frame rate, and it's great. I did a couple of strikes. I tried to do a solo Nightfall, which ended spectacularly in failure. And then I played a bunch of Crucible. I did like one of the control bounties where you have to play like 7 matches and get a bunch of capture points and get weapon kills and advantages and things like that. So I did a bunch of PvP, got diddly squat from it, but I had a good time. A couple people kind of drop in and chat and harass me, which is always kind of fun. Not negative harassment, just there's some folks in my clan that they know that I stream, and so they always come in. And one guy in particular was like, "Hey, do you realize you're playing D1 and not D2?" I'm like, "Yeah, thanks, Mitch."
It was intentional.
It was intentional. It's not like, "Oh, I put the wrong disc in." Oh well. So I did that, and kind of one of the main reasons I did that is because, as Scotty and Robbie know, I'm trying to finally get my Unbroken title because it's going away, and I was able to reach Legend pretty stinking quickly in comp this season. So I got that, and I was like, I'm kind of good on D2 PvP, and so for some reason I subjected myself to D1 PvP and had some fun doing that. So that was kind of my week. Oh, and then I wanted the sweet new Adept fusion rifle from Trials, so I did some Trials this weekend as well, and got a flawless card, and it was awesome. So I've been like PvPing it up a heck of a lot lately. So that's
Wow,
yeah,
nice.
that's my week in a nutshell.
That's awesome. Congratulations
Thank you.
on your flawless card. Robbie, what about you? What you been up to this week?
In D2, well, I did log in and I did my weekly stuff, trying to get my red borders and all that, which I still don't have like many crafted of the new ones at all. So that's been like a grind. But I've been honestly keeping it slow because I've been spending actually a lot of time these past few weeks learning how to code games in Unity.
Oh, nice.
It's just so my playtime on Destiny has been like definitely cut to like my must do's of the week, and then go do something else. But yeah, it's been fun. I had a couple friends who they were moving, and so they didn't play for like honestly like over a month, maybe two. So they got back into the game, and we did a bunch of like catch up for them on the seasonal story. So it was quick, but it was really fun to kind of like play through it again. All one after the other.
Mm-hmm. That sounds awesome.
Very cool.
Matt, what about you? What you been up to this week in Destiny? If you've been playing at all?
No, I have lot of duality, a lot of dungeon runs I've been doing recently. Finally got the exotic sword. About that.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Which allows me to at least go back to Invis Hunter while still on Solar, which is very nice.
Ooh, that's awesome.
And really just a lot of duality and a lot of Vow of the Disciple runs. That's really all that I've been doing. I'm super excited for this week because Deepstone comes back into rotation, and that's another one of my favorite raids. So I plan on doing that at least a few times with some people.
Sweet. You a big raider?
Yeah. Funny enough, and I not to go too long, I wasn't until Guardians Mental Health. I never found the right group, I mean that sincerely. I never found the right group of people to actually raid with, where it wasn't like, if you're not doing 1 million damage, get out of the fire team type of thing. To actually have people like walk me through it and be patient in a sense. I've become like the guy that I like to raid. Like, all right, let's go. Let's fail 30,000 times to get it the first time.
Mm-hmm. It's all about the people, as we were.
He really is.
Discussing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Doc, what about you? What you been up to this week?
Honestly, I haven't even had a chance to boot it up this week. I have been so busy just taking care of the kids, and this week I'm on vacation, so trying to do everything that we haven't had a chance to do over the past weeks, kind of getting to work on some things. But in the next few days, I'm hoping to get some gaming time to actually get through some of the weekly stuff that I've been putting off.
Yeah, for sure. I didn't realize you were on vacation. I'm sorry we interrupted you.
Oh, that's okay.
Hopefully you're having a good
thank
one.
Thank you for joining us on your vacation, man.
Appreciate it. So,
Well, it's on
for
vacation. I don't have to go to work tomorrow, so that's fine.
Good point.
That's fair.
Good point. You can stay up as late as you want to. So, for our first topic, I wanted to talk to you guys, or want you guys to talk to us, rather. Let's head back to the very beginning. Tell us about your guys' just your whole story. So, if I'm not mistaken, you guys started off as something called the Saint 14 Project, and then now you guys are like collaborating with Bungie on things. So, how did Guardians Mental Health become what it is today?
So it is quite a story. You want me to take this one, Matt?
You were there for Saint 14, so absolutely.
Sure. So I wasn't there for the inception of Saint 14 Project. I joined really close to the start. So the way I got involved was back in December of 2017. A Saint 14 project had been started by Joe, who's the one that is our CEO and president. He had started it with a few other people that they wanted to do some charity streams to raise money for other organizations, and they had put out a tweet saying that Saint 14 Project, they're raising money through the Destiny community for other mental health organizations. And I, being in grad school at the time, saying, I love playing Destiny. I'm finishing up my my doctoral degree for psychology, so it seems like a perfect fit. So I emailed them, and they said, "Yeah, sure, you're exactly the kind of person we want to join." And I helped to moderate that first charity stream, and it was really well received. Everyone came out in force. We raised quite a bit for that organization, and we went to work to kind of plan the next one. And I think that year we had 3 or 4 charity streams and a couple of other things for other organizations to raise funds for them. And the more that me and Joe got to talking, the more we thought, that while raising funds for other organizations is one thing, we kind of have something that we want to provide as well, because we were seeing that there was kind of a lack somewhere, and I think we could have fit in or slotted in nicely, and went through the whole process of finally getting associated and recognized as a 501c3. As Joe would say, he doesn't recommend it to anyone because it's quite a bit of paperwork. We were finally recognized in 2019, if I remember correctly, with multiple name changes. So we went from Safe 14 Project to Project Guardians to finally Guardians Mental Health. And kind of the rest is history. We've been providing and building resources for the greater gaming community with a focus on Destiny, because that's kind of where we have come from. This is kind of one of our passions. We've grown up within this community. We love this community and the game. And we can't thank the people of this community enough for the love and support and growth that we've been able to have over these past years.
Well, that's awesome. That's a super cool story. I had a quick question, though. For
Sure.
stupid people like myself, what is a 501c3?
So in the States, because again, we're based in New York, says the Canadian, is a officially recognized designation for a nonprofit.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
So all like recognized nonprofits, and Matt, correct me if I'm wrong, have to have a 501c3 designation.
Yeah. The 501c3, even if I'm not mistaken, primarily just makes you a legal and known nonprofit organization, allows for, to get nitty gritty, it allows for you to apply for specific nonprofit grants, but also to accept donations with showing proof that donations are going to the cause that you're looking to promote, and it helps with your day-to-day in a sense. And there's more that goes into that as far as donations, but I'm just going to put everybody to sleep, and that's not what we're here to do. But that's in a nutshell.
90% of the donations go strictly to the programs, and about 10% that we kind of made a rough guesstimate goes to like keeping the lights on.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Funding's an interesting thing. We're very transparent with it, and we're also very willing to say, like, we're not. I don't get a paycheck.
I don't get a paycheck either.
Yeah, most all of the funds go right back into the program, be it just logistic stuff, keeping the website, having our RTS bot still be uploaded onto various servers, but then more so back into our mental health kits, which I don't want to jump the gun. I know that's coming a little bit further, but that's really where any of the donations go to.
Yeah, the
That's
bulk of
awesome.
the funds go to those kits because we're still filling out like back orders.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. I was looking at that because I want one. So I may be putting my name on that list. But we will get to that in a minute. You mentioned your RTS bot. What's that?
Sure. So the RTS bot RTS stands for real time support, and that is a catalog really of resources that we have vetted, that myself and Doc have gone through. They are legitimate websites. They are grounded in empirical and evidence-based practice to assist with a health conditions. So the RTS bot is available for a Discord server or for your Twitch. We also actually have it web-based as well too. But it's just a handy bot that you can type in /anxiety, since Discord went to /prompts now. And it'll come up with kind of a brief overview as to what anxiety is, but where to find support for anxiety. And the same thing for depression. Even more important, it has specific keywords for crisis lines. So if somebody is, and we saw that this was a need, especially for Twitch as well, because there are sometimes individuals who become very comfortable with a specific Twitch streamer, and tend to
Trauma dumping.
Yeah, I was trying to find the other word, but that's really what it is.
It's trauma dumping.
And yeah, and unfortunately, sometimes a streamer doesn't really have, no streamer is expected to be a mental health professional. That's
of course.
That's not how it's supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
But to be able to have something like, hey, I see you're going through a hard time. Here's this resource. Maybe somebody else, a little bit more qualified than me, can kind of help and guide you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's an ever growing list. Myself, Doc, and Joe, we're always on the hunt for new resources to put into it. The community actually sends us resources as well too. Like, hey, I didn't see this in the bot. I've used this before. Me and Doc will check it, and 9 times out of 10, as long as it's legitimate and grounded in, science in a sense, we're going to throw it in there, because it just, again, it helps everybody, right? More information, the more resources, the better for somebody. And we have it from anxiety and depression, and even resources talking about like schizophrenia, self-harm, almost anything that you can think of.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. So you guys are not only equipping people who struggle with these things, but also equipping people who experience other people who go through these things.
Yeah. And that was the big thing. We ran through and we worked with a few other organizations and created what's known as like a streamer mental health kit. And it goes through all of that. Actually, it goes through a lot, and Doc can speak much more to this than I can.
So
it goes through a lot of
through Geek Therapeutics, and we had partnered with them and Geeks Like Us, and kind of pooled in some of our resources with a few researchers in parasocial relationships to give a good overview of what streamers might need, might encounter, and how to address certain things, rather than just hitting the ban hammer.
Yeah, of course. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
So if I may ask, and I don't mean to deviate this, and I have genuinely never heard of the term trauma dumping, and I could see how you maybe would kind of shy away from that term, but it also seems like kind of an apt, because I've experienced that before, not personally from streaming, but I've been on streams before where you're like, someone's like pouring out their entire heart to complete strangers, or maybe not, because they sort of think that they familiarize themselves with this person because they watch them all the time. Anyway, does it? I don't know how long you've sort of been in the clinical psychology world and all of this, but does it seem like, because of the advent of things like Twitch and YouTube streaming, and there's this sort of like more openness and comfort, we'll say, with complete strangers, that people and folks in general have been more willing to just sort of open up and maybe sort of acknowledge that they have trauma or anxiety or depression, and it's only because we sort of have these platforms where you can sort of maintain some level of anonymity, that there's been sort of an increase of people sort of needing these resources and tools, and it's almost like a blessing, sort of, because maybe these people wouldn't have normally made themselves so open and vulnerable, but because they can kind of, again, maintain that anonymity, that like there's been an increase in an opportunity to help people that maybe would not have been able to be helped. Is that sort of something you've been able to kind of track, or is there like data on that over the years to sort of show like, hey, people are sort of acknowledging that it's okay to seek mental help now, because you can kind of open up to people, but you don't have to like show your face and name, so to speak. Does that question make sense? I know that was like a really
It makes sense, because you're hitting on one of my niches. So it's
Okay.
what we're talking about here is called a parasocial relationship.
Yes. Yes.
Essentially, my doctoral thesis was on parasocial relationships.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. So how it usually was defined, and this is like pre-Twitch and Twitter and social media, was a unidimensional relationship where someone would have with someone that wasn't reciprocal. So
Yes.
it was used to be with like the TV news person or a person on a sitcom. People would get attached to that person, that character, where they would build real intimate relationships, friendships with that person because they're so familiar. With the advent of social media, Twitter being one of them, and Twitch, it is more reciprocal because there is the possibility of that exchange where you can ask a question and that person would answer. Problem is there's still this discrepancy as to where the relationship is, where the person that is asking the question knows a lot about the streamer or the celebrity. But on the flip side, that streamer or celebrity barely knows anything about that other person other
Right.
than like a screen name and that they're in chat. So it creates this, again, this dichotomy where the person feels as though they have a real solid friendship because they're in their chat, they're interacting every single day. But that streamer, if they would see them on the side of the road, they would have no idea who that other person would be.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's
Oops,
kind
sorry.
of the whole of a parasocial relationship. Given COVID and everything that's going on,
Yeah.
because that relationship has been built so much and it's been so kind of embedded in our culture now, people will use these familiar people as a way to verbalize and talk about some of the things that they're going through, as you would a friend grabbing a coffee saying, "Oh, I had a really tough day. Here's what happened."
Right.
But they're going to do that on a live stream in chat
Yeah.
and essentially kind of monopolizing chat.
Yes.
To add just a little bit in regards to like part of that question, there's also a difference between, you know, the act of trauma dumping versus like conversing with a community and getting some basic support or some just, you know, kind of making friends in light of a dark situation that might be going on. The actual like form of trauma dumping really is when somebody is putting a little too
Monopolizing
much,
chat.
monopolizing the chat, and almost in the sense there is this like need, but there is this need to have the streamer's undivided attention.
Right.
And it pulls up like, you know, I watch you, I subscribe, I need your help now. And that's really in the sense the trauma dumping aspect, which in a sense it speaks a little bit more to what that individual might be going through. There's a lot more there than is spoken, but really where our goal was to, you know, give the streamer really tools on how to manage, again, not the individual because it's not necessarily their responsibility, but
They're not the therapist.
right, but how for the streamer and their mods to kind of guide that situation out of the chat, so that way the streamer can focus on their job.
Right.
But still not alienating the person, but also providing them resources that they might need. And yeah, I think also too with just COVID, and I think fortunately, but also majorly unfortunately, COVID put a huge spotlight on mental health, but also the alternative ways you can obtain mental health through telehealth, through peer support groups, through just a variety of other things. It did put a spotlight on that and kind of woke up a lot of people like, oh, no, mental health it's real because I've been
Right. It's a
home.
real thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and because I've been home staring at the same four walls, I need help now.
Right.
And like I
And
said,
people have
it's a good and
turned
a bad thing.
to streaming, to these forms of entertainment because they are interactive. So yeah,
Right.
you're watching someone play a game, but you can interact with a chat. So you
And
are building these connections where you're feeling comfortable.
Oh,
there's
yeah.
just more and more
Yeah.
people, and in a good way, I say this, who are streaming. And so you do have a significant, you have a sizable community of people who are kind of, I don't know, looking at you every so often, and
Oh, yeah.
sometimes these things come up. But yeah, no. So in a good way, it's really become more spoken about. I think the video game community as a whole has really started to, again, of course, there's always room for improvement, but really has started to open up and advocate for positive mental health. All of the ambassadors that we have, I should say, that stream, not necessarily for us, but they stream, through the Guardians Mental Health Ambassador Program, really just highlight that, in a sense that they spread positive mental health. They're a supportive community. They're a safe place where people can kind of come hang out and talk, which is what the world needs right now, in a sense. So
Very cool.
Yeah, but also
yeah,
recognizing that there are boundaries and limits
yes,
as to what is accessible and available for that.
we ramble, so you're gonna have to
No, no,
yell at us.
I actually have a
You
because
have
question.
to rein us in.
no, you're giving me
Yeah,
a
I
lot to
didn't want
think
to
about.
interrupt.
Yeah, no, and that's I completely agree. So I'm sorry, Robbie, and I'll let you take over in just a second. And
Sure.
you guys, yeah, you guys have basically answered my question, and I thank you for that. And I guess I I don't want to like retract part of my question or something like that, because you went down an avenue that I hadn't really thought about. But I guess there's so many things that are happening right now. Like you brought up the COVID thing, which I'm really glad you did as well, because it's like, yeah, that's a talk about throwing a big wrench in the cogs and seeing what happens. And sort of what that's done for folks and their mental health as of late.
It's a collective trauma.
Exactly. I guess and this is one of those where it's like, it maybe is hard to have the numbers on it, because like all of these things are new. It's not like we've had Twitch for 20 years and then there's been these resources that have only come up as of late. I guess part of my question was, and again, you did answer to a certain degree, is like, because it's been easier to seek these tools and resources, and again, going back to the being able to maintain some level of anonymity, does it seem like there's been a general trend, and maybe this is a poor way of asking the question, does it seem like there's a general trend where more people are seeking out help for these things that maybe wouldn't have 20 years ago, partially because we have tools that are more accessible, but also because you bring up the parasocial relationship aspect? Like, does it seem like all of these things are sort of leaning more towards we'll say, a betterment of mankind, because people that maybe would not have sought out mental health now have maybe a little more confidence or a little more push to go and seek those and start asking. And Twitch is merely just one platform to do that. I guess that's maybe
Yeah.
what I was kind of trying to ask amongst the kind of the mud of what I was asking. And again, you did partially
No.
ask this, but does it just seem like there's a general trend where, 20 years ago, there was definitely a lot of stigma around getting mental health and or seeking out help for mental health if maybe you had issues because of, certain archetypes and, the existence in society? And does it just seem like in general, people are more willing to say, yeah, I do need to talk to someone, or I need to ask for help, because it's okay now and no one's going to shame me for it or something? I guess that's kind of
Yeah.
the root of the question.
My
No,
answer on
I
that
would.
is almost twofold. So, one, there is an increase of people seeking help. And I'm sure you can probably see that in your work as well, Matt. I know for us at my clinic, the kind of phone is ringing off the hook, and we have wait lists, and we don't have any room to take on any more patients because we are completely booked. And it's this way for most of the mental health professionals that I know, that there are not enough mental health professionals for the amount of demand. And the mental health crisis that was looming prior to COVID made just explode.
Sure.
Yeah.
So there's that one thing where there is more people seeking out for support and seeking out with the advent of new technology, whereas teletherapy wasn't really a thing prior to
Right.
COVID, and it's become now more commonplace. I would say about a third, maybe a quarter of the sessions
Yeah.
that I have are still teletherapy, even if they're in cities. Some people are just more comfortable that way.
Okay.
But on
Yeah.
the flip side, there are people that are taking advantage of the vulnerabilities of people
Sure.
and offering pseudo help where they are presenting themselves to be healers or gurus or pseudo professionals where they kind of prey on the vulnerabilities of people,
Right.
where people are trying to find a licensed professional and can't because we are full and we're all essentially just bent over backwards trying to fit everyone in, where they will turn to either trauma dumping on Twitch or finding people that will say, oh, come to my stream and we will talk about these things with no training,
Credibility. Yeah.
no credibility,
Yikes. Okay.
no degrees, and
Mhm.
essentially saying it's the quote unquote lived experience mindset of I've lived through it so I can help others, which can be very dangerous.
Yeah.
Right. Which can,
It's
you
kind of the
know,
bull in the china shop example,
right.
where you kind of don't want to
The
let anyone in there because they can do more harm than good, and the potential for re-traumatization is huge. Certainly, if you don't
whole
know how to decrease some explosive episodes.
the whole
Terrifying.
landscape has like changed as well too, right? You mentioned the anonymity aspect. You know, back in my day, no, but
Oh, you're gonna make us sound old now, aren't you?
Yeah.
a little bit.
I like that.
Long time ago, um, you had to go to potentially like your primary doctor and like try to get a referral that way. And
Right.
again, awkward conversation to have. You're not necessarily, you don't want to talk about it. I myself, growing up in Brooklyn, New York, like mental health was not a thing at all that was talked about. The
So rub
closest
some
was
dirt on it and you're good.
Yeah.
right, exactly. Or in my case, rub some pasta sauce on it and you'll be fine. But, um, again, but like you mentioned, like with technology, the way in the place that it is in, people can do their own research and find and access things that they may not have been able to years and years ago. So yeah, mental health, it's a I can't talk tonight and I apologize. It's growing faster, I think, than anybody can handle, unfortunately. And I think COVID, you said it before, just threw a complete wrench into that plan.
Right.
Because now it did, and again, in a great way, it put a spotlight on mental health and the needs that people have to be able to take care of themselves in that sense. But like Doc said, even in New York, where I'm from, currently live in New Jersey, and I don't like it. It's you can't keep up, right? I see it from a case management standpoint. People reaching out for support. My caseload has grown significantly, but even as I'm making phone calls to see who's available, all I'm being told is wait list, don't accept the insurance, wait list. So it's the explosion is great, but there's the infrastructure is not there to handle it. That's
Yeah.
the other
And
side of the coin.
and this is where people that may have less than um
I'm
less than
laughing.
noble ideas or that may be seeing or preying on the vulnerabilities of people where they can see the need and they
You
see dollar signs.
Oh yeah.
You guys are getting the professional doc. If it's just me and him, this conversation goes way different.
Oh,
And
there's a lot
and
more
there's so much
expletives.
more expletives. It's fantastic. That's the only reason why I'm laughing, because I know what he really wants to say.
There's the R-rated answer, and then there's the PG answer that we're getting.
No,
Right,
don't even get me
exactly.
started on the whole TikTok debacle.
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, I know. And so thank you so much for answering. Robbie, please ask your question now before you
No,
forget.
please go on. I noticed you still want more questions, so go for it.
Yeah, I thank you so much for because these are things that I've kind of my wife studied psychology a little bit in college, and now she's a school teacher. So
Okay.
her and I will go on philosophic conversations about kind of stuff like this. So it's like I find this stuff terribly fascinating, and maybe in another life I would have studied some of these things. So thank you for scratching my itch. I appreciate
No, of
it.
course. But I'm sure she sees it almost on a daily basis, what's
Yeah.
going on, especially in schools with children. That's primarily the population that I work with. I work with
Oh, okay.
young children and adolescents, and I have so many teachers call and just like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And then unfortunately, sometimes I say, I don't know either, but I'm trying.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same thing here. Again, we had a shortage of psychologists in the province prior to COVID, and now
Got it.
it's even worse.
Got it. Yeah, well, and I mean, so she did her student teaching right as the schools were sort of transitioning out of being strictly Zoom to being back in
Mhm.
the classroom. So she got kind of like a 50-50 split.
Yeah.
And she was fortunate enough that she got to do some of her student teaching in classroom with real breathing students. And it was definitely like a shocker her first kind of year in the classroom of just sort of seeing like when you, especially with like because she did kind of some subbing, seeing some of like the younger kids that were like started their elementary school career in front of a computer screen, and then sort of seeing kind of like the degradation of like social skills and just all of that stuff. So it's like it's so fascinating and heartbreaking to talk about some of this stuff. And yeah, it's again all COVID centric, and it's absurd.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
A
So
lot came out.
yes.
COVID, especially for I have to say it because it's the population that I work with, especially for children. COVID has hurt, and it brought out a lot of it brought out a significant recognition as to the needs of children
Yes.
during this time, especially on a school level, even on a teaching level, but also on a mental health level. And it brought a significant light to that, which again, I'm and as weird as this sounds, like I'm grateful for it. It's awful that a pandemic had to be the spotlight, but the infrastructure just really needs to catch up, and there's a longer political conversation that I won't get into, I promise, that needs to kind of help with that. And I will simply state it's not a red versus blue thing. It's just
No.
more so a need for people to be like, oh no, funding really should go there. That's
Totally.
really what it boils down to, just to help that infrastructure grow.
Cool.
Robbie,
Yeah. Sorry,
Oh,
Robbie.
for it.
Can I know? Okay, cool. Thanks. No, that's actually super interesting because it ties a lot into what I was thinking. So I was listening to you guys talk about it, and so just to preface a bit of my questions, so it makes some sense. So I stayed away from gaming over a decade, but when I came back, I started streaming too. And being in my early 30s, right, a lot of the community that I managed to build in my stream and then in Discord and things like that, especially with a game like Minecraft, for example, which I'm going to use as an example, was I would end up getting like 300 people watching me, right? And most of them are young kids, and they realize that they can interact with you, and then you're older and you might have some advice for certain things, so they start to reach out to you. And what you talked about like really rang a bell, because I did feel at some point, especially with certain people, where like you get put in this position where it feels even like you are being responsible for this person's actions moving forward, depending on what you're going to say or not say. and that's kind of like a tough place to be, especially because again, I'm just a guy playing video games, right, and just trying to have a nice time and to play with people and kind of let them into your server world, whatever, and then they develop these relationships with you, try to get some advice, and then you can give them some advice, but at some point it doesn't even feel right, because like really it feels like if I say the wrong thing and you see that the situation that they're posing is quite serious, right? You being already an adult and kind of understanding better what they're trying to tell you or going through, it's tough. And honestly, I didn't know there were like things for people who do streams. Like again, I'm a small streamer. Whenever I usually do stream other games that are in those more populars, it's hard from being like 5 people watching you to having 300 people watching you, and then somehow feeling this responsibility on your shoulders. And now with this game that I've been playing, it's a lot based on communities as well. And I've had 3 experiences that I want to use for this, exemplifying what I want to ask, which is one, I did have like a confrontation with another 30-something-year-old, which, like you said, literally taking advantage of little kids for monetary profit, like basically being some sort of, like you said, guru or something, creating these like show talk kind of events for them, and debates about themes that I don't think like a 13-year-old should be even thinking about, or even worse, being put in a position to defend a point about a thing that maybe he doesn't even believe in, right? um and I've seen it with other people. Like I had to interact a lot and meet this community of people where like it reminded me when I was younger, and there were like girls in my secondary school, things like that, that would have like eating disorders, and then they would hang out with other girls, and then all of them now have eating disorders and things like that. And I feel like it happens with this, like they come to you as a streamer or as a community, let's say, leader in a way of these tiny little communities in gaming, and they want to be heard, and they want to see themselves portrayed, and they somehow want acceptance. But it's hard for you to tell someone, and I'm actually glad that you said that a lot of people are seeking mental health, because in my experience is like a lot of people don't. A lot of people seem to gravitate towards, okay, if you don't think like me, then I'm gonna go with these other guys who think like me and just become an echo chamber, you know. And I'm seeing that with a lot of young girls. And again, I like you, I also don't want to get political or anything, but and then you have very confused young teenagers. um,
It's a very slippery slope that people are unaware of the ramifications that it can have on someone. Certainly on teens where they're so impressionable and vulnerable. Certainly in this day and age with, again, COVID, it's kind of the big thing that is looming, where people want to stream, they want to present this game and have fun, but they're unaware and unprepared as to the impact they may have on people, and that can put a lot of pressure on people.
yeah, so that's kind of my question. So as someone who does this, and I'm not saying just for me, but for people who might be out there that also stream, right, or also engage in these kind of communities in gaming specifically, is what I see is a lot of pushback from, like, I don't know how to tell someone, like, honestly seek help and not make it sound rude or not making sound like I'm offending them, but like actually mean it, right? Like look, I'm not qualified to maybe to talk to you about this. I can listen to you, and I can tell you what I think or whatever, but you shouldn't take me seriously, probably. I don't know, that's what I'm saying. I don't know what to
Yeah.
say, but sometimes it feels like telling someone you really should talk to someone, just find help. Sometimes they take it as an insult, and again, I don't, and I hate that, because I see people go and they try to find people who will just become this echo
Yeah,
chamber for
and
them.
there are people that will do that. They will kind of go streaming or server hopping, where they will find the people that will blur those ethical lines to have that echo chamber, which is not a very good thing.
Yeah. Um to answer that question a little bit, but I think I think you kind of answered it yourself, and I hate to be almost mean because as a social worker I shouldn't be mean, but sometimes it
being
really is.
blunt is not being mean.
Well, true. But sometimes it is really just appropriate to say exactly what you said. Like, hey, I'm not a therapist. I don't want to tell you what to do. I don't know your life. I don't know your situation. I don't know anything. But I'll listen. I'll offer a supportive ear. But I think if it gets to a realm of concern, or where I can't even answer these questions anymore, maybe it's time to speak to a professional, right? You don't have to say go get help. You can say maybe it's time to speak to someone about it,
And
and
that's
then
where that RTS bot comes in.
yeah, not even necessarily to self-promote
Shameless
with that
plug.
question. Yeah,
No, that's
but I mean,
actually great, because like these kind of tools being available, and like a lot of people don't know about them, including myself before, right? So
yeah. But being able to set, because a lot of it is boundary setting, being able to just simply state like, hey, this is not I'm not a therapist. I don't provide therapy. I'm gonna just really tell you like, oh, that sucks. I'm sorry to hear that. That's an awful situation to be in. I hope things get better. Like, it's that idea of just being really the supportive listening aspect of it. Or as a streamer, and this goes for everybody, like, you can just simply say like, hey, we're not going to talk about stuff like this in here. Not a topic I'm comfortable talking about. I'm going to ask you nicely at the start to really respect that boundary, and then unfortunately, if you have somebody who pushes that boundary or consistently crosses it, and that depends on how you want to run your channel. You can time them out for a little bit to see if they get the hint, or you can be swift with the ban hammer, because at the end of the day, it is you. This is, I don't know if you mentioned it before, if this is like turning into if this is a job for you at this time, but this is your job. This is your place to entertain. This is your place to be a Twitch streamer, to be a streamer in general. And you have the authority in that sense. You're your own boss to kind of choose how to run your Twitch stream, right? Even, and myself and Doc had this conversation with our ambassadors recently too, right? We're not, just because we're a mental health organization, we're never going to say not to ban anybody. Like, we understand and know like that is super important sometimes to protect you, to protect other members of the community, to protect the community that you've built. Like, it's a part of the job, so to speak. The one thing that we just ask our ambassadors before the ban, just make sure you give them some resources. Because obviously, if they're really pushing the boundary, if they're really trying to like force that conversation, like, no, you're going to help me, just give them the resources before they leave. We do it in our server too, right? And our Discord server is based upon peer support. It's this aspect of people helping people, with an oversight from our moderator team, who are mental health first aid trained and certified through Psych Armor. So they oversee it, and they work with they support other members of the community. We've had to ban people because it gets to a point where it's honestly unhealthy for the individual who's kind of going through this. And but with every ban, we say, here are some resources to help you, reach back out to us in a month or so, or we'll have a conversation then. But these are the resources that'll really help you move along with your mental health journey. So that's the boundary that's important for all streamers, I would say, to kind of set up with their community. Be comfortable and be strict in what you will and won't talk about, and be strict with that boundary. Obviously, that can change. Our boundaries do change as we grow, as we learn, as we experience the world. But those boundaries change, and that's okay too. So, long-winded way to say, it is very much okay to tell people like, hey, I'm not the therapist, but I know where you can find potentially, or I know I can help. I can give you some other resources that might be a bit more beneficial than me.
Excellent.
Yeah,
That's
thanks.
a great
I was
answer.
just thinking. It's
Yeah.
just sometimes what happens is like I feel like someone will come up with something, and then I remember one specific case of a kid that reached out in private, first in
Mm.
public in front of people, mentioned something, and then reached out in private, because in public I did give some advice, or thought
Mhm.
something, and then I did feel like after that he was like very, I don't want to say obsessive, but wanted to come and hang out, right? Like if I'm playing in a
Yeah.
game, he wanted to be there, he wanted to. And I don't know, I feel like this kind of like weird attachment of like they felt safe in a way because they knew that we knew how he was and we understood what he was kind of going through or whatever. It wasn't like precisely mental health, but it was some abuse in his house, where
Mm.
family members didn't believe what was going on. um, and even then, like the problem was like even when we tried to give him like call this number, find out the local number for him to call and things like that, it's like he wouldn't do it anyway, right? Because he was scared.
Yeah.
And that was a weird situation for me, but it's kind of tricky because you never know, like, because I feel like for me it's been good to let people in, right? Like into,
Mhm.
let's say, my circle of friends. Like yeah, I see you're here a lot, and you want to just come hang out when I'm not streaming and we're just like playing, doing nothing. It's fine, right? But then that like you say, boundary sometimes is always shifting, and you never know kind of when it's right to just be like, yeah, no, dude, I'm sorry. And because it even
Yeah.
feels bad for you, right? So
Absolutely.
but I get
Absolutely.
it, and I really appreciate your answer though.
Yeah, and no, what you're hitting on too is just like this. like, it's a little bit of like a blurred line of like friendship versus viewer type of thing, right? Like, oh, okay, this could turn into a friendship. Sure, come on in, let's play, let's run a few games, things like that. And I think even then, that is more than okay. And I also want to like put it out there again. Our server is based on peer support, so people helping people is more than okay, right? I would always stress to be like, just be careful not to give like medical advice or things like that, but just to have that supportive conversation. And like you even did, you went above and beyond to find specific numbers, to find local resources that might help. That's kind of, I would say, really where the line's drawn, right? Because we can't force somebody to do something. We may know, like, listen, you really got to call this number or you really got to do this. We might know that, but it's for that specific individual to really kind of like take that leap, I would say, in a sense, to kind of make that phone call. And you can be supportive. You can, really just like tell the good things that may happen if you call this number. But at the end of the day, they have to do it.
Yeah, you
And
can't make them call.
right. Right. But I don't but I 100% understand and see where, from a streaming aspect, that is so awkward. Like, how do we and I guess in a sense that's really what like we try to do in a sense too with the streamer mental health kit, is to try to really navigate that awkward conversation. What I would just simply say is just be the supportive ear, but like really step back when they're looking for more or like increasing more. And that's when the boundary or the wall sort of speaks. That's where that has to kind of come up.
As someone who doesn't have a lot of Twitch experience at all, I did not realize how much responsibility streamers have when it comes to their audience and stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, I would even go as far as to say like there shouldn't be that level of
Sure.
responsibility.
Yeah.
It goes to the whole, was it LeBron James who said I'm not a role model, I believe. It does kind of like play to that, where it's like I have a community I've built up my community is really 18 plus, so we're going to talk about, I'm going to curse every so often. It's NSFW sometimes, and my service same way, and that's the community that I want to build. So I'm not going to necessarily cater to 16 and younger, right? And I think even with Twitch, you have to be a certain age to be on Twitch anyway, but neither here nor there. Like, there shouldn't be this inherent responsibility. And I guess that's where we're asking, like, okay, because this is happening, let's just meet in the middle. Don't be the therapist, but at least give them the resources. So that way they, you're not alienating, you're not banning, you're not telling somebody, oh, go away with that stuff. It's more of, hey, not here, but this will help.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of wraps it up a little bit nicer, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's that
Yeah,
that
yeah.
parasocial relationship that it's kind of unavoidable,
Right.
given
Yeah.
how Twitch is laid out, and people need to be aware of that. Certainly for streamers, because as much as they want to protect themselves, inadvertently people will build that bond. So unknowingly, they are in a position where it can happen to them, where someone can come into stream and trauma dump. And that's where, like Matt had said, having those clear boundaries and guidelines for the community as to what is acceptable, what is not, and how you want to run that community.
For sure. Did you guys see this sort of stuff from your own personal experience? Is that kind of what spurred you guys to focus on the gaming community specifically?
Well, we
I would
wanted
say yes,
to
yeah.
do something for the gaming community because we saw a need, just because of the common stereotype that has been associated with gamers. And again, it is a completely false stereotype. Gamers are all shapes and sizes and walks of life and of different ages. But they're a community that are often underserved, and that the passion that they have, the activity that they love, is often demonized for no reason other than moral panic.
For what you said?
For what's called a moral panic.
What
So when
is
something
what does that
bad
mean?
happens, they will blame video games.
Oh, I see what
Got
you
it.
mean. Like, there's another shooting. Blame Call of Duty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And moral panic dates back to the written word.
Yeah. I see what you mean.
People will be reading. Oh, there goes conversations, and that's as bad as the devil. And then it was radio, and then it was rock and roll music, and something else came out.
Mhm.
There's always something. Video game has been this kind of on this linchpin of the past 30 years or so.
Mhm.
And study after study has shown that no, there is no link to video games and violence.
Absolutely.
But it's
I
still
agree.
demonized.
Mhm.
And people will use video games as an escape. And unfortunately, it can also be used as an unhealthy escape because it is so interactive, because it's so engrossing.
Mhm.
That's why we kind of set out to build these resources to help people that are in need.
So this is kind of a theory of mine, so you can absolutely shoot this down. But I was curious, do you guys think that perhaps associating someone's like favorite activity, like for example, like, oh, they're a huge Destiny fan or something, do you think associating like mental health resources like therapy and stuff with like their favorite game, for example, makes people more inclined to seek out those resources, or at least like try and use them, as opposed, because like sometimes it could be daunting to go out and look for a therapist for one reason or another. Do you think like associating that with video games helps in any way?
It's
Absolute-
increasing visibility.
Right. And I think it also, if you, and I might have misinterpreted this question wrong, so I apologize.
I worded
But
it poorly. It's okay.
No, not at all. Not at all. My brain is mush. But but if you so myself as a therapist who is a nerd, it does bring a bit of ease to individuals if there is this sort of shared understanding of what their favorite aspect is, right?
Mhm.
So if it is video games, like you do see that wall go down of like, oh wait, you play X, Y, and Z? Yeah. When I'm not working, of course I do. And so there is this like, oh, you're human. You're not you're not this, Sigmund Freud looking guy who's just going to analyze every single word that I say. So there is that aspect of like being able to associate a video game with therapy and knowing that there are people who play this game who are therapists. You may not, I'm not going to say that every therapist is, because that's just not true, but it does help with somebody who is looking for support. It's 100% helpful in that sense, just to build that connection, because 99% of the time, all the techniques that they taught me in school, whether it's cognitive behavioral therapy, dialect behavioral therapy, any type of therapy, that's all well and good, but 90% is the relationship that you build with the person across from you.
Mm-hmm.
So once that is established and grounded, then the other 10% is the techniques and the skills and the things that you can teach and talk about and manage and work and process and blah, 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 blah. But yes, to, again, long-winded, and please tell me to shut up.
You're saying that it is really true that because gaming has often been so secluded, it started off as a very solitary activity. Now it more so than ever, it is more social, but bringing the resources where the people are at is what needs to be done.
True.
Because if
absolutely.
someone needs it and it's too difficult for them to look up, or it's too complicated, people won't reach out. They won't search for the information because they'll get confused or they'll get frustrated. So they will just continue with the status quo.
For sure. There's a lot of hoops to jump through. As someone who's personally looked for a therapist and stuff, there usually is a lot of barriers. And I'm kind of picturing, I'm sure there's people out there who, maybe someone's like, oh, you should go to therapy or something. It might help. And maybe in their mind, what they're associating with the word therapy is just like the four cold walls of a doctor's office with someone sitting across from you, interrogating you. But the second you associate like Destiny with it, it's like, oh, suddenly that seems more inviting, if that makes sense.
No, absolutely. My greatest, so prior to working with children and adolescents, I worked with adults with substance abuse. I worked in a medical-based rehab program, and I had an office, and I was able to decorate my office, and I was like, what do I want to put in here? And may not have been the greatest choice in the world, but I brought in some of my Walking Dead comics. I brought in some, just some like other. I was big into The Walking Dead at that time, still am, but only the comic. I hate the show, so which I get a lot of hate for. But and I had those comics, and it would be amazing to watch people come in, and I'd always have music going, and as a therapist, you would picture like maybe like soft melodic music. No, I had, depending on my mood at the time, I may have had Slipknot. I definitely would have had it a lot lower, so that way it wasn't disruptive.
Mm-hmm.
Or I'd have like regular music playing. So people would come into my office, and you could watch people get so taken back, like, "Whoa, where am I?" I'm like, "Hi, how you doing? Have a seat."
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not, like you said, it's not the typical four white walls. It's this dude's got action figures on a shelf. What?
He's a normal guy.
Yeah, exactly. And it does bring it down to that level, and it really does help with kind of being able to talk and work about things, and it does make for a conducive environment.
Yeah, I could see someone interpreting even, a lot of therapists' office are very like stereotypically inviting, it's like designed to be like comforting to as many people as it can. And I feel like that sometimes maybe comes off disingenuous. I could see someone interpreting it that way. So I feel like,
It can be,
really
because
makes sense.
all therapy offices are designed to be inviting and relaxing, where people can feel comfortable. But it's to each therapist to make it their own.
Mhm.
Like Matt, for me, I'm bringing in some memorabilia that I use as intervention tools. So I have a Mirror of Erised from Harry Potter on my windowsill.
That's
I
awesome.
have a light box from Avatar: The Last Airbender on my bookshelf.
That's super
And-
cool.
and
That's
then
something
they-
that I would
Then they
love to
find
see.
out that you play a hunter. And it hurts. Well, you thought he was just like me, but no.
No, no. He has to go back to Warlock.
Yeah.
Have to
No.
relearn the Warlock floof.
But
There's nothing wrong with Hunter.
I enjoy being able to jump high places and not die.
I agree. Usually jump like a normal person.
Right. It's
Sort of
so much
falling.
fun with style.
So if you guys could put your mission statement into like a sentence, what do you think it would be?
Gathering and providing easily accessible resources for the gaming community.
Matt, what about you?
Creating and cultivating a space of peer support that is informed but also inclusive.
Perfect. I love it. That's awesome. Well, thank you guys. I wanted to say thank you for just like engaging in probably the heaviest conversation we've ever had on this podcast. So
by a
Rambling
large
and going on
margin.
tangents.
no, thank you for going on log tangents.
Yeah,
I would
that
rather
was
you
great.
talk than not talk. So
Yes.
thank you. I'm never gonna shut you up because I love listening to you guys. You guys are awesome. Yeah, the furthest we go on our podcast, we'll be like, wow, trials really sucked this weekend.
But it did.
A little more constructive than that usually. Like trials
Barely.
really sucked this weekend.
Right. There's just more adjectives.
Right.
So before we move on to talking about the mental health kits, you guys have a podcast, correct? You guys are fellow podcasters?
Yeah.
Yes.
Although our podcast, we've kind of put it on pause for a bit. We need to restart it. We've just been so busy with things lately.
Absolutely. I don't blame you.
But Doc started his.
Yeah, we started a new show spinoff that is part of the GMH podcast. So the main podcast was just inviting guests to talk about video games, and generally we had some mental health topics that we would kind of touch on. And the new show is called A Healer's Journey. We've done 6 episodes. Mainly we are talking with mental health professionals and exploring their journeys in becoming mental health professionals, kind of getting into how they got into the field, what they're interested in, kind of their niches, and going on tangents.
That's super interesting. That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Are you guys on all the various platforms? If people want to check that out.
I still have a bunch of them to edit. Again, we've been busy, and it's on my things, my to-do list that is always growing longer. But mainly we stream on Twitch, and then we post the video to YouTube. And eventually, when I am able to edit everything, it will be on pretty much every podcast platform.
Sweet. So
Very
the
cool.
the links for that will be in the description, as well as your guys' website and everything like that. Well, thank you. That's awesome. Matt, did you want to add anything about the podcast?
No, just it's been fun doing with Doc. We finally, the reason we've been so busy, we actually came back from a conference over with Wounded Warrior, and I got to meet Doc in real life for the first time, and it was super cool.
2 years.
Yeah.
The first time.
2 years in
2
the
years.
making.
Cool.
It was very
That's
cool.
awesome. That's super cool.
That's why we've been busy.
Yeah. Yeah, so we were doing that, and we're working. We're always working on a bunch of stuff in the background.
Yeah, I bet. You guys are doing really cool stuff. So
Try.
Well, thank you.
moving on to the second topic. Speaking of really cool stuff that you guys do, what it seems like one of your biggest, or at least like most unique offerings, it seems like you have today, is the mental health kits, including the Destiny specific Guardian mental health kit. It's like a Destiny focused collection of like coping mechanisms designed in collaboration with Bungie, I believe. So tell us a little bit about the mental health kits. The starting with the Guardian ones.
Sure. So me and Joe came to talking as we normally do, and Joe had brought up the idea of wanting to build these kits to hand out at conventions. This was pre-COVID, and we had done some online research as to what are some of the offerings available, and we were very underwhelmed and kind of flabbergasted as to what was offered. So it was either a couple pamphlets and that was it. And you would have like the opposite end was these very bougie kits where like a couple like essential oils, a bar of soap, and essentially charging like $100 to $200 for it.
Don't forget the
So
little statue of Buddha.
Oh yeah, that little statue of Buddha. Yeah. So we decided, well, let's do our own thing. And we wanted to make it completely free. Because again, we just wanted to have it as something we could just bring to conventions as to here's our booth, here are some of the things that we do, here's a kit of these empirically validated resources where people can bring with them. And these are all tools that I use with clients on a daily basis that they can bring home with them and use in conjunction with hopefully their own therapist. And then COVID hit and everything stalled as COVID does. And we decided, well, rather than just bringing it to conventions as to we have no idea as to when it's going to happen again, how about we just mail them? So that's where our first initial kit came from. And then we kind of iterated on that with the neurodivergent one that we did with a Social Cipher. Then we had our suicide prevention one that we did in conjunction with To Write Love on Her Arms. And then the Bungie kit is kind of our fourth iteration that we had a meeting with Bungie, and we had this idea of wanting to give back to the Destiny community because that's where we come from, and we wanted to tailor one and change the wording to make it specific to Destiny the game and the lore. And we talked with a couple people at Bungie, and they were on board. They helped us with a whole bunch of things. I scared Joe on that meeting, kind of bringing up that guided relaxation and meditation one. Do you remember that call, Matt?
I do.
Oh, I
One
thought
of my
Joe was
favorite
going to have a
calls.
heart attack because they
What
had
happened?
asked us, "Oh, what else you guys want to do?" And then I just piped in, "So I have this idea," and just had the look of sheer panic on Joe's face. Oh no, I know what he's going to ask, because I had been running this by him for a while of wanting to write and help voice a guided relaxation within the Destiny world, and brought it up to them, and they were interested. So I got help with from the narrative team and some of the sound engineering team, and reached
That's
out to a couple
right.
people. And thankfully enough, Brandon, which had come on our podcast before, was open to voicing the introduction as Crow. So it's a
Oh, cool.
variation of the
So
initial
cool.
speaker, like D1, the speaker's introduction to Destiny. So it's a retooling of that, but as Crow saying it. and then I'm doing the ghost as the guardian wakes up, and then we have Anubis that is doing someone that is in the Cosmodrome, and then we have Mylan that kind of gives us a tour of the tower.
Cool.
That is
Yeah.
so cool.
Yes.
It was a lot of fun, and I will say, and to no fault of Bungie, those conversations were very scary because it's like, okay,
Oh, yeah.
what can we say? What can't we say? Can we mention this? You know, am I allowed to use Guardian? Can I use Light? Can I use like so many different things?
What is copyrighted and what is not?
Right. And I'll never forget like going back and forth with like stuff like, no, this has to change. And again, nothing. And to Bungie's credit, they never even touched like the clinical aspect of things. You know, there really was that nice understanding of like, hey, you guys are the experts when it comes to that, so we're not touching that.
Right.
But just move Guardian here, don't really put that here. Like it was more so of their stuff, which
Some of
again,
the wording for things.
yeah, but also super appreciative where it was like, oh cool, you trust us. And my biggest thing is so within that kit we also added like a few new resources, and I had so much fun. I'm a big preacher of the aspect of resiliency, and not in the sense of like, you know, pick yourself up by the bootstraps and just keep walking, but it's that aspect of learning to adapt, learning to grow, and things like that. And I was able to, I don't know if I snuck it in or if they just saw it and were like, all right, we'll give it to them. I put this whole thing in about the Deepstone Crypt, and it really was like an homage to Guardians. That was like the first raid I ran with them, and that was the first raid that they taught me. So I was like, I have to sneak this in somehow. So on the resiliency piece, there's this whole aspect of like, you know, you're in the final encounter of Deepstone Crypt. You have no idea where the bombs have to go, and you're consistently failing. What do you do? And then it goes into this whole aspect of like resiliency and building your confidence and courage and things like that. I thought they were going to have a little bit of a problem, and I really do think it was just, he really wants it, give it to him.
Yeah. And it sounds like it's pretty harmless at the end of the day. So
Right.
They're really good to work with and super helpful to make the kit the way that it really came out. So they helped us with some of like the art team helped us and helped our graphic designer to kind of meld everything together. And we are surprised by the sheer number of requests that we've had for this kit. It is by far our most popular kit.
And, you know, it was one of those conversations where, like, do we ask them to promote it? And we never did. But, again, they did it on their own.
yeah.
They took our tweet. They retweeted it. I know.
As soon as they retweeted it, we had the, oh, no moment.
Oh, no, but oh, yes.
You're in the spotlight now.
They retweeted something from us, and then, oh, no. Because then we just saw the likes just creeping in, and then the requests creeping in, and we have to build all of those.
Yeah.
Can we do this? And we're like, no, but we're gonna try. So
I mean, it is worth noting. And I think we talked about this on one of our previous podcasts. Like, there is in the help tab of the Bungie website, there's a almost immediate link to your guys' resources.
Yeah.
So, and that I think is awesome, because that's how I kind of first found you guys, as I was looking at just some of the tabs. I'm like, oh, they actually, in the help tab, they have a mental health resources, and then there you guys are. And that's pretty awesome. Like, yeah.
So that was another thing we had the pleasure of working with Bungie on. So we helped build that mental health tab with them.
Okay, cool.
And it was just an honor just to be listed there.
Yeah. But again, too, there was this respect of like, hey, we have these resources. This is how we have it written out. Would you mind helping us? We want to make sure that the verbiage is correct. We want to make sure that we're providing the right resource. And it was one of those things where it was like, again, like, they trust us. And they gave us all the information, and they were super receptive to, like, me and Doc. We kind of split the document, and made our little tweaks, made our notes and adjustments, and they were super appreciative because, like, this is exactly what we wanted. We want to make sure that as we send this out or as we promote this, that it's correct.
Yeah.
And we're still, and in a sense, we're still working with them and adding certain things and talking about certain things, especially with this season. I feel the Season of the Haunted. Yeah. I feel it's one of the best narratively. And I know some people may argue with me on that. But
I completely agree.
The story aspect, the aspect of trauma and grief and loss, but then overall acceptance with each of the characters here is very, very well done from a mental health standpoint and how they, go through it and how they talk about it. I was one of those people who cried during the whole, no spoilers, but I was one of the people who cried during Savala's part. Like, I was like, oh, that's okay. Let me take 2 seconds to breathe. That was, that was heart-wrenching. But it's so there's been a lot of conversations as to, what can we add, what can we grow on, things like that. So it's been a very just like mutual collaboration, and we've been nothing but like just like
we're fanboying
fangirling
so hard behind the scenes.
Oh
yeah.
You can't help it.
Oh man, I bet. Yeah, I'm looking at a picture of the kit right now, and it looks so cool.
Yeah.
You guys did a fantastic job.
Thank you.
It's been a labor of love. It's been a lot of fun, and just being able to do this and bring it to conventions and to show it, in a sense, like show it off to people. And when people ask, like, "Oh, how much?" No, here you go. Have fun.
It's
free.
totally free. So
yeah,
you don't have to answer this question, but I'm just like really curious. Like, how did you guys manage to get it totally free for everybody?
The generosity of the community.
Wow. Just
So
like
we
off
mentioned,
of, like, donations
about
and stuff?
90% of the donations that we receive go straight back into all of the programs that we have, and the major one being that mental health kit.
That's incredible.
The way that
and we build it in-house, so we don't use a fulfillment center. So in each kit, you'll get a card as to who built your kit.
Oh wow!
I have a few here by Joe and his daughter Sadie. I think I have a few from you, Matt.
Yeah. Yeah, my whole closet, as I look at it, is all kit-related items.
That's awesome. Super cool.
But there's that, and the way that we basically priced it out, in a sense, and again, full transparency, the kits themselves, each one is $10. So that's $5 for materials, and then $5 for shipping costs.
Gotcha.
So that's why we say, especially during our fundraising streams, every $10 donation equals one kit. Okay. So it really is this pay it forward aspect. If there's a donation of 10, you've just made a mental health kit for somebody for free. Also due to cost, and I guess this is the unfortunate side of things, we had to limit it to strictly US based.
We're still working on trying to get to that international shipping, because it is kind of rough, and that's where the digital version.
I was going to say you have a digital equivalent on here.
Yep. So you get everything that's in the physical kit. The only thing that you don't get is like the physical fidget items.
Right. So
and all of the resources, the pamphlets, everything is there.
Glimmer Cube. The Glimmer Cube is so awesome.
Oh yeah, the Glimmer Cube is great.
I love it.
I'll be very transparent and say I've stolen one or two of them.
How dare you?
I know. Listen, it gets tough in those meetings sometimes. I need something.
Yeah,
I need something to fidget with.
For sure. I'm looking at there's also, is that a box breathing technique I see?
Yes.
That's awesome.
The box breathing perk.
Yeah.
That's so neat.
Absolutely.
That's so clever.
Yeah, and that was the other nice thing too. They gave us specific assets that we could work off of and assist with the design. They really were. Bungie was really generous and very helpful, and was like, no, we want to make this unique to the community that you were born out of. So they were very helpful and very, very just awesome to work with.
Because they wanted it to be authentic, and we wanted it to be authentic as well. We didn't want to make like a cheap rip-off,
Right.
like those dollar store toys that you see.
Yeah.
Right.
So, no, it's not Superman. It's like Super Guy.
Yeah. It's like a collection of like it's like the Avengers, but it's like Shrek and like Batman.
Yeah. So they really helped out to make it authentic, with like the art assets, the typeface, some of the perks, and everything that IRES was able to use, and letting like Brandon help on voicing that part in the meditation and helping us get the wordings kind of just right.
For sure. Like it feels like it came from like the Bungie store or something.
Exactly.
Who did you guys get to do the artwork for the coloring book?
Oh man,
those are
everybody.
artists across the Destiny community.
Yeah.
Really?
There's a variety of people that are in there.
I'm pulling up
remember.
names now because we had a lot of different help from a lot of different artists.
Because we haven't even used every single page of art that was provided to us yet.
Oh, really? You guys still have more in the backlog?
Basically, yeah, we have a lot. Everybody gifted a lot. So for just a few people to name, Cobb One Art, Tenarukin, Pixelated Traveler, Heather Studio, Bird Ninja Art, Resolute, who's Resolute, I should say, who's our graphic designer actually for Guardians Mental Health. That's just to name a few who have donated just their artwork to be in the kits and to be in consistent rotation. So, and then for the Guardian kit in particular, we asked those same artists to just give us, not just give us, if you'd like, we have approval from Bungie, give us if you would like to donate your coloring sketches for various Destiny themed. And a lot of the artwork was great.
A whole bunch of them
incredible.
Jumped on the thing. Yes, please.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. And again, it just shows, it seems to be the theme, but it's just the community in and of itself giving back, right? Nobody asked, here's the thing. Nobody asked for money. Like nobody was like, well, how much are you paying me? Everyone was like, and I also want to preface it. They very well could have.
They could have, but they all said, yeah,
we'll help out.
I have some ideas. I'll give you something like a week or so.
Yeah. So it was just, again, this community coming together and supporting and making this awesome. And that's been really just a theme of ours as well. Like we're not a one-stop shop. We don't know everything. So we sometimes rely and ask like the community what they need versus what do they know? What what resources do you feel are beneficial?
Yeah, it's a back and forth for sure.
Absolutely. And we take pride in that in a sense.
Yeah, it's better to go back and forth and learn from the people you're trying to help than pretend to know everything.
Yeah, no. If I ever start doing that, it's not good. Anybody that does that, it's not good, I should say, because I don't know anything and I don't pretend to.
We were just talking about this before the podcast, where we were talking about just how, part of why Destiny's been around so long is the people who play it and the people who continue to engage in the community. And, like Robbie, you're saying, it's like, save for a few bad apples, there's always going to be a few bad apples in any community. But
right,
at least in the Destiny community, there's a lot of great people doing great things. And it's really cool to see something like this mental health kit, which is just kind of the culmination of a lot of really cool people's hard work and, care.
Yeah. Well, if you take a look at something like GCX, that was born from the Destiny community, even wanting to raise money for St. Jude, and look how huge that has become.
Right. Seriously. Seems like charity is a really big part of the Destiny community, more than any other community I've personally been a part of, which is really, really cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, if you guys don't have anything else to add, it is time for Destiny trivia.
Oh no.
Ooh.
I'm excited.
I almost forgot about that.
To close out the show.
Forgot or was hoping that Scotty wouldn't remember.
No, I forget whose team I'm on, but I'm so sorry in advance.
It's okay. Their teams are Matt and Rob, and then Doc and Robbie. And then
Right.
I will facilitate. I'll host. I'll ask the questions.
You'll be
etc.
the moderator.
So
Be the
we're
mod,
choosing
yeah.
actually team names, because I remember you said something about team
Yeah.
names.
That is rule number 1: is that you guys
So
have to pick team names.
Okay, so I want to propose my teammate Doctor over here, because I saw his username on Discord. So, how do you feel about calling ourselves the Ginyu Force?
Sure.
All right.
Is this a Dragon Ball thing?
Yeah.
Yes, it is. I'm still waiting for Bungie to bring out all of those emotes. I think they have like 2 or 3 of them now.
Yeah, they're pretty cool.
They are.
I want the whole set and everyone to wear it and do the Ginyu pose.
the only one I know, it's what is it called? The one where they like it's like a multiplayer emote and they both stand there and then they like lean into each other. And they
the fusion dance.
join
Yeah,
fists.
that's
The fusion
Yeah,
dance. That's a Dragon Ball thing, right?
Yes, it is.
Look at me. I'm so knowledgeable.
Look at you. All right, then, if that's the case, then I'm going to propose that we be Team Bitter Steel, which is
Yes.
Sorry, go for it. Yes.
No. I was just being excited, and yes.
Okay.
Because
when
I
I was
reference to something too
it's
that I don't
the
understand.
it's the Dead Orbit shader from D1 that like everyone wanted. It's just black and white.
Shader.
It's really cool, but it was like super coveted. Like back in D1 year 1 when it was stupidly
the shader.
Yeah, it was stupidly difficult to get the faction shaders, and everyone wanted it. And I actually saw someone when I was streaming the other day. I was like, "Man, that shader looks good." And then I looked down, and I'm like, "Of course it looks good because it's Bitter Steel." So, yeah. And if we lose, then we can say we're bitter. So,
yeah. Perfect. All right. So now that we have team names, I'll explain the rules. So it'll be first to 10. First to 10 correct answers.
Okay.
And I will keep track of that. In fact, I should probably write this down. Just kidding. I'll do it on my phone. So, first to 10 wins. And so when I'm asking a question, I'll read off the question and then I'll read off all the answers. If you hear the right answer, you can just yell it out. If you're like, "Oh, it's Gallahorn," you can yell that out. But if it's wrong, then the other team is allowed to try and steal it. And if they get it wrong, the other team can go back and forth. It's like Family Feud, but without Steve Harvey.
Okay.
So it's not going to be fun then. That's what you're saying.
So it's not.
All right.
Well, if you want to put it that way.
I have the utmost faith in you, Scotty.
Sure sounds like it. All right, so is everyone ready?
Yes.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Question number 1. Which item was not part of Xur's first ever inventory in Destiny 1? Is it A, Gallahorn?
Gallahorn.
I said,
Rob first.
what? Goddamn lag.
Gallahorn was offered. Was that week 2?
Yes, it was week 2.
Yeah. When people were like, "Who wants to use their exotic slot for a heavy weapon?"
Ah.
And
how
were we
knew.
wrong?
Yes.
It took me like a year and a half to get it after.
Robbie, I'm sorry if you lag. I'm going off of what I'm hearing. I promise I'm not.
It's
I
my
don't have
thing.
any bias towards you.
Even on these, I'm blaming on ping. Like what's
Yeah.
going on?
like a true gamer, always
I know.
blaming ping.
That's what I'm saying.
He's hacking. He's wall hacking.
DDoSing Robbie right now. All right.
All right. Question 2. Which of the following is not? All right. This is kind of confusing. I was reading answers or questions earlier. It's kind of a complicated question, so listen carefully.
Goodness.
Which of the following is not one of the former names of the three main hive gods? Is it A, Sathona, B, Zerak, C,
Zerak.
Zero? Zerak is correct.
Wow.
Nicely done.
Zivu Arath.
Who was that? I'm sorry?
It's supposed to be Zivu Arath.
Yes. Well, yes, but these are the former names. So Zero was her original one. Who answered that?
That was Doc.
That was Doc.
It was Doc.
1-1.
One
Let's
to
go.
one.
Wow.
We're on the board.
Tied up.
All right.
Question number 3. When detected, how long do you have to kill a Gorgon in the original Vault of Glass? Is it A, 5 seconds, B, 10 seconds, C, 15 seconds, or D, 20 seconds?
10 seconds?
I'm gonna s-
10 seconds?
It's got to be
It-
5.
No, it's more than 5.
10 seconds is correct.
Yes!
I
Oh,
was
I'm
in
good.
between 10 or 15.
I-
That was,
Yeah,
I am
20 seconds seemed way too long, but
5 is too short.
yeah.
I'm just glad I got one right. I'm good for the rest of the show.
Look at you, Matt.
Yeah.
All right, question number 3. This one's kind of a tough one, in my opinion. Which is the correct code to enter in Leviathan's underbelly? Is it, yeah. A, is it 1, 4, 5, 3, 2, 6? B, 1, 5, 2, 3, 6, 4.
This is just
gonna be
complete
so
guess.
hard to do. Is it C, 1, 3, 5, 2, 4, 6?
It's C.
It is not C.
Oh,
What's
Moving
D before you go?
1, 5, 3, 2, 4, 6. Just guess.
I think I think it's D.
D, 1, 5, 3, 2, 4, 6.
I trust you. Go for it.
The 5 and the 6 are standing out to me because I know it starts like you jump back and forth quite a bit. I've entered it maybe twice in my entire life. I'm gonna guess D.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Random
Oh.
guess. Let's go, baby.
Question 5. In addition to Lord Saladin, who is the other remaining living Iron Lord?
Aphrodite. Or Lady
Yes.
Aphrodite, and her
Yes,
her
Aphrodite.
spear was the sniper that everyone used in D1 Year 1 with final rounds, which was BS and trials. We don't need to
Correct.
talk about it,
Nailed it.
so yeah.
Next question. Which of the below strikes was not a PlayStation exclusive? Was it A, The Undying Mind, B, Lake of Shadows, C, The Wretched Eye, or D, Echo Chamber?
B.
Wait, what was the question?
B is incorrect.
Oh, come on.
Which of the
Strike was not.
which strike was not a PlayStation exclusive?
The Undying Mind was a PlayStation exclusive. I know that. That was a Dark Below. What were the other ones?
Undying Mind, Lake of Shadows, Wretched
So that
Eye.
means Lake of
and Echo
Shadows was a
Chamber.
PlayStation exclusive?
It was, yeah.
Yeah. So is it Echo Chamber?
It is not Echo Chamber. Robbie and Doc, back to you.
Well, it's the other one that we haven't said, so...
Yeah. So,
Wait, was Lake?
Wait,
it wasn't Lake of Shadows.
no, it wasn't Lake
Echo
of Shadows,
Chamber.
it wasn't Echo Chamber.
was the
it
other
wasn't
one?
the one Rob said.
Wretched Eye?
Undying
Wretched-
Mind and Wretched Eye are the other two.
No,
Wretched
Undying
Eye.
Mind was a PlayStation exclusive.
Are you trying to help them?
No, no,
Yes, it's Wretched Eye.
you said
Wretched Eye, final answer. Wretched Eye.
Hold on.
Wretched Eye, final answer. It's
Oh,
our turn, Rob.
Wretched Eye was correct.
Yes.
What was the question again?
Which
Which
strike is not
wasn't?
a PlayStation exclusive?
Lake of Shadows was a PlayStation exclusive.
It was. I actually do remember.
That's why
Yeah.
I said Lake of Shadows first, because I thought that couldn't be an exclusive, but I guess it was. I don't know.
I believe it was. I think Vanilla
Vanilla
D2 launch.
D2?
Lake of Shadows was a PlayStation exclusive, yeah.
Ow.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I
I for
vaguely
some reason
that.
remember that. I don't know why I do, but moving on. In what season? Oh, also the score 4-2. Robin Matt are leading. In what season did Bungie shut down Trials of the Nine? Is it A, Season of the Outlaw, B, Season of the Forge, D or C, Season of the Drifter, or D, Season of the Worthy?
Oh, it's Outlaw.
Correct.
Well, so that's a weird question because technically it was
It is a weird question.
because it was
Yeah.
season 3 was the last season to feature it, but you could say they shut it down then. But I guess it was shut down at the advent of Season of the Outlaw, which was the start of Forsaken.
Which is Forsaken.
So, right. So it wasn't
Right.
any of the other ones. So yeah, it was Forsaken. Okay.
Weird question, but
Yeah.
by process of elimination.
Yeah, exactly. Now, if you had said whatever Season of the Warmind was, what was that season even called? Did that
Season
have
of the
a...
Worthy.
No. I mean, the actual Warmind DLC. What did that season have a name?
Oh, no, it didn't.
I
Forsaken
think it
was
was
the
just called-
first one.
That's
Yeah,
right. Yeah,
Forsaken
they
was
just
the
called
first
it
one to have
Season 3.
seasons.
Yeah. Okay.
Next question. Which ex-Queen's Wrath of Marasov has a location named after them on the Tangled Shore? Is it A, Petrovenge, B, Shirochi, C, Yasmin Eld, or D, Sir Ido? If you need me to repeat the question, I can.
Yeah. Has a what?
Which
Yeah.
location on the
Right.
Tangled Shore?
which previous Queen's Wrath of Marasov has a location named after them on the Tangled Shore? And the answers were Petrovenge, Shirochi, Yasmin Eld, or Sir Ido.
C?
That is incorrect.
On D?
D for Doc, right?
Yeah.
That is correct. Sir Ido.
Yes.
What's the location?
He doesn't know.
I remember the name. I don't remember exactly
He
where
just
it
know
is.
the answers.
Okay.
Uh,
I'm
Wait,
just kind of
gonna
curious
go
now.
with
Like,
Is it? Oh no, it's Seer's Rest, where you get the Wish Ender. There's that cave that you go to. Whatever it's called.
oh.
It's like her tomb or something, or like I think I know that there was like a Wish Ender mission there, and there was a
Alright.
hunt there for Season of the Hunt. I think.
oh yeah. Okay. Yeah.
it-
Yep. Okay.
Alright. Question 9. Which of Valis Tark's lieutenants was operating the land tank in the Cerberus Ve 3 strike? Was it A, Val Baurk, B, Val Kaul, C, Val Maurg, or D, Val
Please don't say Val
Zuark?
Kilmer.
What was the Val Kilmer?
A?
Val-
Isn't it
A,
A?
Val Baurk?
Yeah.
It is incorrect.
Can you
Oh.
repeat B through D again?
Yes. I'm sorry if I'm butchering these pronunciations.
I'm sure the Cabal will be very upset with you. Yeah.
Telling Keitel.
Yeah.
Val Kaul, Val Maorg, or Val Zuark?
I'm leaning B or D, but I don't
thinking-
know.
I'm thinking B2 because I know Valko that Kaur is somewhere, but I don't think it's the one operating the land tank. But that's the only like name that I recognize from something. So I'll say Val Kaur.
B, final
Alright.
answer?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
That is correct.
Yes!
Let's
Go!
Val Kaur, I want to say, was the Spire of Stars boss. I think. All right, next question.
Wait, what's the score right now?
Score is 6-3.
Okay.
Bitter Steel is up by 3.
Yeah, Bitter Steel.
Let's go.
What is the name of Failsafe's ship in Destiny 2? Is
The
it
Exodus
A?
Black.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Sweeping.
I was gonna say Exodus Blue, but that's the map.
That is the map. You're correct. Which notorious enemy was the one to kill the Hunter Vanguard before Kate 6 and Obrask? Was it A, Tanix, B, Crota? Tanix is correct.
Yeah.
7-4. Finish this sentence. quote unquote. A million deaths is not enough. Blank.
To
Is it A?
satisfy Rahul.
Let me finish
All
the
right.
answers. Lord Shax, Taken King, the Kel of Kells, or Master Rahul?
Master Rahul.
Correct. Nicely done. Next up, which exotic has the perk? I don't know how to pronounce this. Impetus? Impetus? Reloading immediately after a kill increases weapon damage for a short time. Is it A, the Queenbreaker, B, Merciless, C, Skyburner's Oath, or D, Two-Tailed Fox?
Merciless.
Hey,
Merciless is correct.
Woo!
All right, Dragon Ball.
Wow, I'm very happy I didn't say my answer because I would have been wrong.
You guys got to come back. They're one away from winning. It all comes down to this. This is match point.
Make this one count 7 points, maybe.
So all the previous ones don't matter? Yeah.
This is a bonus point question.
Worth 7.
Specifically. So, where in Destiny 2's tower do you normally find Lakshmi 2? Is it A in the... This is a normal word. I can't pronounce it. Anals? Anals? It's not anals.
It's not there for sure.
Scotty. It's the word is ANNALS. Courtyard, hangar, or bazaar?
Hanger.
Yeah, it's a hanger. But
That is correct.
Yeah.
All right, Doc.
Live to
Doc.
fight another day.
The courtyard's where Hideo hangs out, and then
We just won.
Yeah, it was worth 7 points.
Yeah,
Here we go.
okay. Well, the next one. Yeah, all right. Keep going.
Whose favorite Dawning cookies are Traveler Donut Holes? Is it A, Commander Zavala, B, Lord Shax, C, Saint 14, or D, Ikora Ray?
C.
It's like Korra.
It is not C. You said C, right, Rob?
Yeah,
Robbie?
I said C. Yep.
Ikora is correct.
Yeah. Woo!
I made so many of those things.
I know. But you just read where they go. You don't actually read what they are.
Well, good job, guys.
Shax like he likes the blades or whatever, right? That's all I remember.
Yeah,
'Cause
the blades.
it's like
I remember that.
swords. Yeah. Do a couple more.
Conflict.
We win. Let's let them.
All right, we gotta do one
Rob,
more round.
I appreciate you carrying.
Yeah.
I contributed 1. That's
all right.
it.
Yeah,
But that was the key.
I want to mention that I did apologize at the beginning of the episode.
You did. You know what it is? Your answer broke their spirits, and that's what just let us keep going the rest of the time.
So now we're gonna make this a little more challenging.
Okay.
We'll do first to 10 again, but this time it's Destiny lore questions.
Oh no.
Oh,
Ooh.
I don't think
Okay.
anyone's a lore expert here, so hopefully it's a
No.
pretty even playing field.
Can we phone a friend to the Elmist or whatever?
Yeah.
Elmist?
The Elemist, yeah.
Yeah.
Give him a call.
Yeah.
Doc, I'm gonna text 10 really quick.
Only if you give me the option of text Bife.
Yeah, I was gonna say you
Buy
have
from
to
my
do it
dad.
on speed dial or Bife, yeah.
Yeah, for real.
Hey, man, sorry to bother you. It's just an emergency situation.
Listen,
I'm doing this,
podcast
I'm doing this
this is life
podcast
and
thing.
death,
getting
man.
grilled right now.
What was the name of the fallen guy that did that? So, we'll do first to 10. Question
All right.
number 1. Or do we want to switch teams?
No,
It's up
we're
to
not
you
going to
guys.
do another. This is just more for fun of like whoever knows. Like, Bitter Steel already won. We got nothing to prove.
Okay.
We already went. We already went flawless. It's over.
flawless.
I got my adept weapon. I'm good.
Yeah. Now I'm just helping
going
people.
home.
Yeah.
I'm
Just
helping.
I'm farming my Katie at this point. Let's raise my ELO and trivia, and then we'll go from here.
All right, welcome to the flawless pool.
Oh
Question. Question number 1. What event nearly caused the extinction of the human race?
The collapse.
Correct. Heard Rob first. All right. Question 2. When was the darkness created? Was it A, at the beginning of time? B, 10,000 years ago? C, before the beginning of time? Or D, 1 million years ago?
Beginning of time?
That is incorrect. I'm sorry.
Before the beginning of time.
That is correct.
Wow. There you go.
Tied up Also, I didn't make these questions. I cannot attest to the validity of them. It's from
now you're questioning our victory because maybe we didn't technically win.
Yeah.
You're casting doubt. Don't
Yeah.
cast doubt.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Forget what I said.
Okay. That was close. Right.
Who practices a religion known as the sword logic?
The
Is it
hive.
Hive.
A? Correct.
Yeah.
Nicely done.
Although, could you say that the Taken kind of do as well, or do they have like a different ideology?
Taken's not an option.
Oh, okay. Well, then it's the hive. Right.
They're probably just the Taken are through Oryx, but they're not the original species.
Right. Yeah, that's true. Their ideology is probably more they claim all victory through taking, not through the sword logic. Anyway, keep
Yeah.
going.
They're like
Sorry.
zombies. No,
They're
you're
like zombies, yeah. Just like we are.
good. Yeah. Do you know which of these? Oh, why does it say do you know? Which of these is another name for the darkness? Is it A, the winnower, B, the deep, C, the formless one, or D, all of the above?
The deep.
The deep.
The deep is incorrect. Back to you.
Oh.
I think it's the
I thought it was the deep too, but it's not.
the winnower.
That is incorrect. Robbie and
It's
Doc,
all
back
of
to
the
you.
above.
It is
Yeah,
all of the above.
Yeah, it makes sense that it's all the above.
Ah.
Because I thought it might have been like one or two of them, but yeah, I wasn't confident enough to say all of the above. But
I've heard the winnower and I've heard the deep. I've never heard the formless one before.
yeah, because I know there's like the gardener and the winnower. It's like the story, and like the gardener's like the traveler or light or whatever. But yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
The Scorn are undead members of which species?
The
Vex.
Fallen.
Fallen.
Nice.
The Elixir.
Give
Ooh.
bonus points to Robbie. He's politically correct now. Yeah.
Who created the Galahorn? Was it A,
Crux
Lord
and
Shep-
Lomar.
It was Crux. I'll give it to you. It's
Woo!
Crux, yeah. Nicely done.
They also made the truth.
They did make truth.
Yeah.
Nice. Where is the Black Garden? Is it A, Venus, B, the end of the universe, C, Mars, or D, beyond space and time?
Mars?
Beyond space and time.
Beyond space and time.
Beyond space and time is correct.
Dang it.
Doc RG first.
Yeah, give it to them. I was wrong. I said Mars right away. You can
Yeah,
get to it from Mars.
The gate is on Mars. One of the gates is on
Yeah.
Mars. What part of the Vex is biological? Is it A, nothing, B, their brains, C, the mind core fluid, or D, the
Mind core
eyes?
fluid.
Mine.
Mind
Doc.
core fluid. That is correct.
Oh man, comeback time.
Can I get bonus points for calling it the juice box?
The Vex milk.
Vex milk.
Vex milk. Oh.
In case anyone's interested, the score is tied 4-4.
Oh.
You're actually keeping score on this one?
I'm keeping score.
All right. Wow. Okay.
You guys have bragging rights, but
That's
I gotta
fair.
keep score.
Yeah, all right.
Who created the Exos? Is it A, humans, B, the Fallen, C, the Darkness, or D, no one knows?
Humans.
D.
Humans is correct. Nicely done.
Clovis Bray.
Yeah.
Clovis. What intelligence do the Vex have a hard time simulating due to its complexity? Is it A, the Awoken, B, the Hive, C, the Exo Minds, or D, the War Minds?
The
War
hive.
Minds.
War Minds is correct.
Yeah.
Never gotten that.
Dominus
Never gotten that.
Gaul is the ruler of which, or was the ruler of which group? Is
The
it A, the
Cabal?
Red
Cabal?
Legion.
I'll give it to Rob. I heard him first. He said Cabal listed.
I mean, yeah, you should give him bonus points for he was like even more.
because he was
deep.
specific.
Yeah.
How should I score?
See, that's the problem. That's the problem. Is like, so we have to wait for you to ask the questions, right? But like some of these answers are more right than others, ironically.
true.
So that's why keeping score is just kind of fun more than anything. It's silly. So I like this. This is fun.
Who created ghosts? Was it A, the Guardians, B, the Vex,
Traveler?
C, the
Yeah.
Travelers? Correct.
And his dying light, he created ghosts to open doors, right?
His dying light. The Hive have spread to open doors. The Hive have spread across the galaxy, but where do they call home? Is it A, Soul?
Fundament.
B, Fundament is correct.
Nice.
Nicely done. Do you know who killed why does it say do you know at the beginning of these questions? Who killed the Helium King? Is it A, Savathun, B, Oryx, C, Xivu Arath, or D, the Traveler?
The Helium King.
Think Books of Sorrow.
Yeah, because I
Xivu
read those
Arath?
regularly.
It is not Xivu Arath.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a shot in the
Repeat
dark.
the
I'm gonna.
answers?
Yeah.
Whose team is it?
I think it's Doc's. Doc
Yeah, it's
and
Doc's
Robbie.
team.
So what are the answers again? Not
Savathun,
Xivu.
Oryx, or the Traveler?
Do we know if the Travelers actually killed anyone?
It's a great question.
Like I know, like at this point, it's like
For
this,
some reason, I want to say the answer's not there. But if I would have to guess, I would say it would be Savath.
50-50.
It'd be Savathun.
Correct.
Yeah.
It was
Nice.
Savathun.
Oh, wow.
That's good because I was gonna say Oryx. That's why I didn't say anything.
I mean, that kind of felt like a crapshoot. Yeah, of like,
Yeah,
'cause I
know
don't
that
think the
either.
Travelers, quote unquote,
No, it wasn't the
killed
Traveler.
anybody.
If I
Yeah.
remember
Oh.
correctly, it was someone else. Because I don't think Savathun actually killed him, but I might be wrong.
It says so. Here's what it gives a little explanation. It says Savathun, the Witch Queen, once Thona, daughter of the Osmium King, is responsible for killing the Helium King. After she and her siblings made a deal with the worms, they became the progenitors and gods of the Hive.
Oh yeah, now I remember.
Nice.
When were the Awoken created? Was it A, at the beginning of time, B, before the beginning of time, C, during the collapse, or
During the
D,
collapse.
correct,
What was the final question though, or final answer?
at the Battle of Six Fronts?
Oh, yeah, that's like.
Speaking of the birth of the Awoken,
I was hoping that one would be like, oh, when they were on a voyage to escape the collapse, and then they hit like the neutron star or whatever, and that like birthed them. Like, I was hoping for a more specific answer, not at the beginning of time.
yeah,
Some of these are so like stupidly obvious, and so you're like waiting for the complex answer that's like specific. But no, it's
I know
just
what
like,
you mean.
yeah,
It's more simplistic. It's direct to the point.
yeah, exactly.
I still get them wrong though, so I don't know what you're talking about.
All right.
I'm just happy to be here.
Yeah.
What? I don't understand it at this point. I'm too afraid to ask. No, that's an interesting. And we've already kind of talked about Bife and Mylan and all that. Like, Bife has this really cool 4-hour video that's just like the history of everything leading up to, I think, Shadowkeep, and goes into a pretty cool detailed like discussion of like the birth of the Awoken and how it was like a group of spacefaring people that were trying to escape the kind of our solar system during the collapse, and then shit got real, and then they turned into
They
the
got
Awoken.
hit in between like darkness and
Yep.
the collapse.
Mm-hmm. That lore book, Mara Senna, is so good. That's probably my favorite lore book.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
It's cool.
But if you want the TLDR, you can watch Bife's video, and it's a pretty cool kind of explanation of their whole society and like how they're in like this weird, like, they've been around for thousands of years, even though it's only been the passage of like a couple years. It's kind of neat.
Mm-hmm. But off topic. My favorite lore book. That reading it is really good too, because you get like an eye into who Mara is as a person and how manipulative she was. It's really cool. Very well written. Anyways, do you know what the not? Why does it keep saying? Do you know?
These are bad trivia questions. I question the credibility of these questions. This whole contest is null and void.
What are the 9? Are they A, the original Vex, B, emissaries of the darkness, C, the rulers of the fallen, or D, dark matter beings?
The beings?
Who is that? I'm sorry, can't cut out.
I was going to say the dark matter beings.
Final answer?
Sure.
That is correct.
Wow.
Nicely done, guys.
I thought they were like the planets or whatever.
They're like dark matter. It was weird. There's a lore book
We
explaining
don't really
it.
know what they are.
We don't know. That's the real answer.
It was like the Dust lore book or something. I think it was called. It came out in like Season of the Drifter, and
Yeah.
it was about someone and someone. It was all these people trying to figure out what the Nine were, and they found out they were like particles of dark matter or something. It was really weird. It says here
It is destiny.
Yep. Everything
Yes.
is kind of weird, and that's okay.
That's a good point. It says the Nine are beings made from a sort of coalesced dark matter, basically pure thought that came into existence as life in the galaxy emerged. They can only exist as thinking beings as long as other thinking beings exist on the planets of Sol.
So they need
Source?
us as
I don't
much
know.
as we need them. Okay.
Apparently.
Got it.
So what does that make Xur then?
He's an agent of the Nine.
He's an agent of the
Right.
He's a snake-faced bastard. That's all you need to know.
Alrighty.
I like to think of him as like a couple of like squids or like cuttlefish stacked on top of each other in a trench coat.
He's the Santa Claus of Destiny.
Well, congratulations. Or if we're keeping score,
We
Robbie.
have
Doc won 10-6.
Yay.
Yeah.
Or Robbie and Doc won 10-6. Sorry.
Very nice.
So there
Very
you go.
nice.
Well, thank you guys for coming on and chatting. This was a fantastic discussion, and I was really glad you guys came on and chatted. It's
Yeah.
been fantastic, and thank you for
Thanks for having us.
entertaining
This was
me with the Disney trivia.
A
It
lot
was
of
awesome.
fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thanks for the carry, Duck.
Oh, you're welcome.
Rob,
How's
thank
your
you for the first
how's your
carry.
back? Of course.
Yeah, for real.
Rob and Doc are the MVPs here.
Thank you for the trials run.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys so much again. Really appreciate having you on. And I'll have all the links for all these resources, their website, et cetera, will all be in the description of the podcast episode if you guys want to check out their stuff. Please do. Seems super, super cool. But without further ado, we'll see you guys all later.
Bye.
Ciao.
Bye.
You can put this voice recording away and go on with your life, because you and I both know you'd have me yapping in your ear for the rest of your days.
Want to further the discussion? Get in touch with us at any of our Twitter handles, all of which can be found in our podcast description.